Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I just wanted to make a really quick video about Propstream today. So I've had a ton of people ask me a lot of different questions that can be really easily solved on Propstream, or running into a lot of issues that could have been found on Propstream if you would have looked through it. So I just want to explain the software a little bit more so you guys understand it's not just for pulling lists and comping properties. It actually has a lot of information, and I just want to dive right into that. I'm going to share my screen here and try to keep this short and simple because I know sometimes these videos get a little lengthy. So I'm just going to start right here. We're on Propstream. I'm in Baltimore. I picked a random city because I use this in my crash course as like an example city. So figured might as well stick to it. So in Propstream, first of all, when you search, you can search by city, you can search by zip code, you can also search by multiple zip codes. So for example, I live in Vegas, so I'll just do 89128 is the zip code in Vegas. Then you just hit it with a comma and you put the next one, 89147 and 89118, however many zip codes you want. So you can search multiple zip codes, realtors call them farm areas, whatever you want to call them. You can search pool lists or whatever you want based on multiple zip codes. You could do one zip code. You can even do suburbs or areas like, for example, Henderson, Nevada, which is now considered another city. It used to just be like a suburb. Let's see if you can do Summerlin, because that's a suburb in Las Vegas. So no, not suburbs. So any little surrounding towns, suburbs that are actually their own kind of town thing. Enter county, city, zip codes, or APN. So you can literally search it by county, by city. You can do zip code or multiple. So that's just quickly how you can search it. Now, let's look at the filters. So as far as the filters go, owner occupied, that just means does the owner live there or not. So if you're trying to pull like an absentee list, you would put no. So that's kind of how you make those really more detailed lists, by focusing on these filters. So owner occupied, occupancy status, property characteristics, property types. This is pretty important to add in there because you want to make sure you're putting what kind of property type, or you can get any of these: single family, multifamily, condo, whatever you want. Bedrooms, bathrooms, this is all stuff that you can specify. MLS status, this is pretty important because if you're doing off-market properties, or you're trying to call sellers who haven't already previously listed or haven't listed, you want to put no. But if you want something that is failed, maybe you're going after people who tried to sell their house and couldn't at a certain price, then you can put failed. So these are all more filters that you can use on Propstream to really make your list specific, or like they say, stacking. So stacking your list would be if you said, no, it's not owner occupied, and it failed on the MLS. So now you're looking at probably what are rental properties or properties the owner moved out of that they couldn't sell on the MLS. Maybe they'll be more motivated to sell to you. Pre-foreclosure and bank owned. You can put notice of default, which is before it actually goes into foreclosure. Auctions, it's already foreclosed on, it's going to be auctioned. So those are also things. Something I really like is the quick list choices. Senior owners, vacant land, tired landlords. All of these are different motivators that you can add on or just do by themselves. Ownership info. Now this is where you can kind of get a little bit more detailed. The last sale date is the last time the property was sold. So if you put the last sale date to be in 2017, that was 4 years ago. So that's people who have owned the property at least 4 years. If you go all the way back to 2011, that's people who have owned at least 10 years. And if you go back to 2001, they've owned these properties at least 20 years. So this is where you can kind of get creative. If you want to say they've owned it for 20 years, boom, and they're a senior owner. Now you're kind of pulling a tired landlord list or whatnot. Maybe they're tired, maybe they're not, but you're increasing your chances of motivators. Um, Absentee owner location, out of state, local, out of county, doesn't really matter. But if you want even higher motivation, maybe they've owned the property for 10 years, they live out of state, and it's vacant. That's pretty motivated to sell right now during coronavirus. Maybe they're not really worried about being foreclosed on. Maybe they're not really worried about back taxes, but they have this property sitting there and they need some money and they don't even live in the state to be taking care of the property. That could be more motivation. So liens, bankruptcies, divorces, kind of self-explanatory. There's all these different types of liens, bankruptcy, divorce. You can add that. I don't really use this, like I've done the liens, but bankruptcy, divorce. So Propstream data isn't like 100% accurate to today. Sometimes it can take 90 days. For example, I did my first deal, like the actual property closed in May and I got paid in May. It was a deal that I had called at the end of April, right? So it took about 3-4 weeks to close. When it closed, that property didn't show up sold on Propstream until July. So it took 2 months for Propstream to get the information that that property was sold. So with that being said, Propstream is not 100% accurate to the day. You're going to have some delays in some things. So just depending, like, so if you said divorce filing date until today, which is February 1st, 2020, you might not get anything that happened in the last few months. If you set it to maybe November 2020, I said 2020, 2021, sorry. But if you set it till November 2020, then you might get more accurate data as of that date. So just a forewarning, Propstream isn't 100% accurate in dates, and it's not 100% accurate in a couple other things that I'm going to show you. So valuation and equity info. This is important if you're wholesaling because obviously you want a property with high equity. Equity is the amount of money that the owner actually has in the property. So if the property was worth $100,000 and they sold it, but they had a $20,000 mortgage, they would only make $80,000. Their equity would be $80,000. So you can really play with it. When I first began, I was only doing 99% to 100% equity. And I think that's like your typical list, absentee, vacant, high equity is what people kind of start with. That's what I started with, just based off what I saw on YouTube. But the more lists you pull, obviously you're not going to be able to pull the same list every time. So you have to start getting kind of creative. And mortgage info. So this is something that Propstream isn't 100% accurate on, so I don't mess with it. The mortgage, sometimes it'll say they owe $12,000, but then when I'm actually doing the deal, it's been paid off by now, or they might owe more. Like, it's not 100% accurate. Go with what the seller says always when it comes to mortgage. When it comes to taxes, that's easy to search on the county website. When it comes to the mortgage, go with what the seller says. When they pull a title search, it's going to come out later on anyways. So if they lie to you, it'll come out later. And hopefully at that point, they'll be willing to pay off their mortgage since they owe it, right? Another thing is the kind of membership you have on Propstream. So the basic one is $100 a month, you get 10,000 leads. If you want to add people, because only one person can be logged in at a time. So for me, I do have a cold caller, and I did have somebody else helping me who no longer is helping me, but I added 2 more people on there, and it's $20 per person. And you can set it to where they can not pull any leads, but they can use it to search for information, or you can allow them to pull leads if you want, just depending on how they're going to be working on your team is how you'll kind of structure it. But so I pay $140 for 3 people, myself and 2 more people, to be able to access Propstream, but only I can actually pull the leads. So they even have bigger accounts where you can pull like 50,000 leads a month, just depending on what you're trying to do or what level you're at. I don't use the whole 10,000 leads. This January was my first month where I pulled like 8,000 leads for the first time. Typically, I was just pulling like 2,000 at a time. Now I'm pulling more because I'm seeing it takes a lot more it takes bigger lists to get more deals. Of course, it's a numbers game. So instead of pulling like 1,000 lists, I might as well pull 5,000 at a time, 4,000 at a time. So I'm going to actually pull up a random house, to show you guys a little bit more in depth. So depending on what market you're in, this may or may not be accurate information. Las Vegas is a pretty healthy seller's market. Properties are pretty expensive, I would say. Like, it's not like those small Midwest markets that I wholesale in. Properties here are like around 300,000 on average. So all this is probably kind of right. Average sale price, they're just averaging out literally everything. But the problem is the average sale price isn't taking into account the comps being 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, similar square footage. It's just like all the recent sales in the area. So you have to look a little bit deeper. These, I don't really trust anything on the top on Propstream. I don't even really look at it. Monthly rent, this is kind of inflated. Honestly, I live here. 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, probably around 1,500. It could be up to that high, but probably around 1,500 for a 1-story house in this neighborhood. This is actually really close to whereby some of my family lives. So property details, obviously you see the owner's name, mailing address, which you can use if you're doing direct mail. You're going to want their mailing address and the mailing care of name. I've used a Yellow Letter HQ for direct mail a couple times. I haven't been consistent in direct mail. It's extremely expensive. It was like almost $1,000 each campaign. I got one deal. I don't like it that much. So, but I know a lot of people really swear by it, and I would love to learn more about it and maybe what types of markets it really works in, maybe the way exactly to do it for it to work. But since I don't know all that information, I don't feel comfortable, just spending thousands on it. So I continue to cold call and text, and that's been good for me. But I'm sure there's some people out there that only do direct mail and just call back leads, and that's probably something that works for them. So that's what you could use this for. Property characteristics, of course, you have your rooms, bathrooms, bedrooms, floor type, what kind of garage it has, all that fun stuff. Square footage. You have your APN, which is like the lot or land number that you can use to look up the taxes, but you can use the address also to look up the taxes. Legal description, the assessed value, the land value. I don't really look at that either. The last time the property was sold, how it was sold, who sold it, all that good stuff. What type of loan, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, so typical FHA loan. And then you have MLS details. So this is really important. It's actually listed right now for $289,000. It's been on the market for 9 days, and it has a lot of pictures. So these are probably the new listing pictures. Looks very, very nice. And you can use these pictures as your ARV comps. So if you're looking at another property in the area, this would be like your ARV. They're trying to sell it for close to 300,000. So if you found a property in this area, you could say ARV is around 300,000. It's really nice. The cool part about MLS details. So if you have a property that failed on the MLS, and you see it here, it'll say failed, it'll say what price it was listed at, it'll have the description of the listing and everything like that. So you'll be able to see, oh wow, this house was for sale in 2018, in 2019, in 2020 for all these different prices. They never were able to sell it, and they wanted 150,000. Maybe now they'll take 70, maybe now they'll take 80. You never know, but you know what they wanted, and you know that if you offer less, you might be able to get a good deal. And chances are, while it was listed, cash buyers did make offers, but for one reason or another, they didn't accept. So maybe they weren't really in a rush to sell, or maybe they were like, you know what, I'll just rent this out. It's not worth it to sell it low. But you don't know what their situation is today. So expired listings are really good. And if they don't have a lot of equity, they can even become seller finance deals, which investors really like to buy, because then they don't have to go get a loan out for a more pricey property like this, they can just do a seller finance deal where maybe they can put 20,000 down and pay per month and just collect the rent and the cash flow from it. So MLS details is a really cool tab to look at. Obviously, comparables and nearby listings. If you guys want to learn how to comp properties through Propstream, I have a different video on that. So I'm not going to go over that again, but I do have a YouTube video on that, so go back. But this is a very important part that you're going to use every day. Tax information. This tells you how much the property taxes are. This is important because just depending on where you are, sometimes if you guys are in these like really expensive suburbs, the property taxes could be like $20,000-$30,000 a year, which is crazy. And it does kind of make a difference for cash buyers. A lot of really good wholesalers that I subscribe to, because I do add myself to people's cash buyers list just so I can see what other deals are going down. Am I competitive? Are my prices competitive? Which I feel like personally my prices are actually a lot lower than a lot of my competition. And when I get a deal, they usually don't even last a week because I lock them up so low and I'm able to sell them low. But it's really good when you're on those people, other wholesalers, cash buyers list, to kind of see how they market and advertise, and you can mirror that. So a lot of people will put how much the property taxes are because obviously the buyers are going to have to pay that. So it's good to let them know, and you can find out through this tab. Linked properties is like other properties that that person owns or whatnot. Mortgage and transaction history, not always totally accurate, but usually they tell you the estimated loan balance. So these people, if they owed 193,000, right? And then they happen to sell the property for 290 or whatever they're asking for, that means they have $100,000 in equity. So when someone says they want to make a certain amount of money, so this is kind of key. If these people, if you had cold called these people instead of it actually being listed, if you'd cold called them and they told you, we want 250,000, they want 250,000, but they have to pay off 193,000. They're not really taking home that much. So what they're really saying is, we want $63,571 cash in our pocket and just to get out from under this house, basically. So you want to keep that in mind when you're looking at the mortgages people have. Again, this is not 100% accurate. So you always want to ask them as well, you know, what's the mortgage balance? Once they're comfortable enough with you and you build enough rapport, they shouldn't have a problem telling you their mortgage balance, taxes owed. It's when they're not comfortable with you and you're just a complete stranger asking them these super personal questions, because they are personal questions. You actually have to have like them contact the bank to get their mortgage balance. It's not something that you typically could just look up and know unless you have Propstream. So it is personal information. That's why it's important to build rapport, so people will share this kind of thing with you. And if you figure that, okay, they wanted to take 63,000 home with them, you can also figure out what their motivation is. Why do they need this money? If this is a good area and it's appreciating and they can rent it out and it's on a bank loan, why do they need that? The loan payment's $1,060. So obviously they could rent it out, make a little money. There's a reason why they want to sell, and that reason is going to determine how much they really need. So if these people wanted to make $100,000 cash take home in their pocket, but really could take 50,000 or 40,000 because they really just need this money to pay off this car, pay off this house, pay off this college for their kid, whatever the case may be, and they haven't been able to sell the property, that's a huge motivator. And that's when you can actually kind of use the equity and their motivation to anchor low, get a low deal, and actually be able to make a better assignment fee. So that takes rapport and talking to them and figuring things out. But with this information, you can kind of be pre-armed with that. And documents and reports, this is kind of a silly tab because they make you pay like $5 for any of these. But if you need any of these documents, Propstream has them. So that's pretty much the basics. There is like a rehab calculator. I don't really use that. Yeah, and besides that, the picture, bedroom, bathroom, square footage, all that fun stuff. This is pretty much the majority of what I use Propstream for. I think the most important things are property details, MLS details, comparables and nearby listings, and then of course the mortgage and transaction history. Knowing if it's on the MLS or not is really important. And then one little thing, I know this is kind of probably, these are like little quick click filters, but one other little thing that maybe people don't know is when you click this to add these to the list, you can click filter and you can say you only want the first, say 3,000, say you don't want to pull a whole list of 7,411. You can do that and then it'll narrow it down. So then you can just add those to your list. That makes it a little bit easier because you don't want to be clicking this and going next, 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 and clicking every single page. You can just filter it down to how many you need on your list. But that's pretty much my little basic Propstream overview. I really wanted to go over the MLS details, the taxes, and the mortgage because I was having so many people asking me questions about those things. So I hope this video helps you guys navigate Propstream a little bit easier. If you've never used Propstream, I do have a 7-day free trial. I'll drop that below in the description box. Go ahead, use that free trial, play with Propstream, watch my comps video, learn how to comp properties, learn how to figure out ARV. You guys research all this stuff before you pull lists and get started wholesaling, because again, all this information is out here on YouTube for free. Take advantage of this and don't spend a ton of money on classes for things you can learn for free. Put that money into skip tracing your list, paying for your dialer system, paying for your text blasting, and actually generating leads and making money closing deals. So like, share, subscribe. I hope you guys got value from this. I intended that this helped you go on into the world and close some deals and make some money this year, 2021. Let's do it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.